Adobo. It's not just a dish, it's home. Welcome to Quietly Delicious. Today, we're diving into adobo as more than just food. It's a connection to where we come from. From my own personal journey to Luna's Lunpias, crowned Best Filipino Food of 2024 by the San Diego Reader. You'll see how this dish keeps tradition alive while adapting to the present. And if you're Filipino like me, who grew up with a Navy chef in the family, I think my adobo story might be something you could relate to. Alright, let's talk about adobo. If you know, you know. It's the heart of every Filipino kitchen. Everyone's got their own approach to it, and of course, everyone swears theirs is the best. Take my cousin, for example. He's convinced his adobo is unbeatable, and mine? I think mine's pretty unbeatable too. But if we're talking about the best in the family, we've got to take it back a few generations. Meet my grandpa, the real OG in the family. He was a Navy chef, and the man knew his way around the kitchen. He taught my mom and her siblings how to cook, and eventually passed that down to me and my cousins. When I was in college living in Vegas, I'd call home to my grandparents. They'd be on their speakerphone in their kitchen, and they'd guide me step by step through making adobo. Back then, I thought it was all about getting the flavors just right. You know, perfecting the recipe. But looking back, I realized it was never just about the food. It was about staying connected. I wasn't just cooking. I was calling home. It's that feeling I had as a kid, walking through my grandparents' door after a long day at school, knowing everything was going to be alright. For me, adobo is more than just a meal. It's like home. It's a feeling. It's warmth, it's comfort, it's family. And with every bite, it feels like you're right where you belong.
When the night has come.
After diving into my own adobo journey, I found myself here at Luna's Lunpias, located in Poway, California. They've been open less than a year and recently got recognized as Best Filipino Food in 2024 by the San Diego Reader. But honestly, that's not the story. This place is a nod to the Filipino diaspora, families who came to the U.S., many through military ties, holding on to their roots while navigating a new world. The food here, it's got one foot in the past, grounded in tradition, but it's also modern and evolving, just like us. And for many of us, this is more than just food. It's memories, pride, and a connection to what we've left behind.
Sorry. It's like, where is it? Okay, cool. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, who's that?
This is my daddy. It's weird because I haven't seen this picture for years until today, so.
Luna's story is one shared by many Filipinos. She learned to cook from her pops, a Navy chef who, like many Filipino chefs in the service, mastered both Filipino dishes and American classics, but didn't always receive the recognition they deserved. Her mom also played a big role, teaching her how to bake Filipino and American desserts. For Luna's family, cooking was about more than just making food. It was a way to stay connected to the roots while adapting to life in the U.S.
Man, he taught me everything I know. Sorry. He just loved to share his love of cooking with me. And so I think he saw at a young age that I really, really wanted to be in the kitchen.
Hey, real quick, if you like what you're watching, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop me a like so I can keep this channel going. Also, drop me a comment, whether you love it or not. I want to hear your feedback. All right, back to the show.
It was fun for me though, because like I said, my siblings were older and my mom was always at work. So I was always with my dad. And so that was something that we did together, was we cooked. So it was just something that I loved to do because he loved it and then we did it together.
Hey fam, Rex here with Luna's Lunpias, located in Poway, California. What we're going to go over today is the chicken adobo. We are a Filipino fusion, corny and Calipino, California Filipino, type of flavors. But we're going to go over today is more of the traditional ingredients for the Filipino chicken adobo. And here we are.
In the kitchen, Rex is showing me their adobo recipe. They start with garlic, onions, soy sauce, and vinegar, the basics.
But there's a twist. What they do is they add lemongrass and coconut cream, but for today, they're sticking with the traditional way of making adobo. It's a blend of old and new, a nod to where we come from and where we're headed.
The aromatics are really going. You're gonna want to saute your onions and garlic together. You want that to be nice and brown. So we'll set that aside. And we're gonna get our chicken going. Because we are a fusion, what we add during the sauteing phase of the aromatics is lemongrass and ginger. So it's more of like a Thai influence, because when we also do the liquids, we do add coconut cream. So it's almost kind of like a tom yum kind of flavor to it, in a sense, with the coconut and the lemongrass. That's the only thing that would be missing from this ingredient on this segment.
It's the basics. It's the soy sauce. It's the vinegar. It's the aromatics. So it's the garlic. It's the onions. It's the peppercorns, and then the seasonings that you choose. Although at the restaurant there's a couple more things that we add to it. We do coconut milk, so it just gives the broth a little bit more body. It's a little bit thicker. It's not super coconutty, but it just makes the broth thicker. So the kids' adobo that we make at home is super basic. Super basic.
And that's just the standard.
Yeah, just the standard.
Because I know when I make one with potatoes.
Oh yeah, some people make it with potatoes. I've made it with eggs.
How does that work?
Just boil eggs. You boil the eggs, and after
like
and then after the eggs are boiled, then you put them into the broth and you let them cook a little bit more.
I see.
That's yummy too. Sometimes, I mean, depending on the adobo, like pork adobo, sometimes I'll put Coke in it because it tenderizes the meat and it gives it that sweetness.
For Luna, adobo is more than just a Filipino staple. It's a reminder of home, of family, and the love passed down through generations.
I feel home. I mean, every time we had, get-togethers or even just family dinners, that was one of the dishes that we always had. So my brothers are a lot older than me, so they would leave and become adults and go out into the world, and then they would end up coming back home again or whatever. And adobo was always there. So my oldest brother, his favorite dish was adobo. So when he would request a meal coming home, that's the first thing he would say, like, Mom, can you make adobo? Like, I want adobo when I come home. So it's comfort food. It was home. So it was always one of the main dishes that we had when the family was all together.
You want to brown the chicken. Now we're going to add the aromatics. We're adding the ground pepper here, and now the peppercorns, which that should have actually gone in with the onions and garlic, so my bad on that, folks. Now we're going to add our liquid. We're going to do the vinegar first. So we're doing equal parts. That's kind of like the rule of thumb until you figure out if you're more into the acidic or soy-based flavor of the adobos. Growing up in my household, it was very vinegary. Add about a half container of water. And so what you want to do is you want to get this to a rolling boil. In this pan, it'll probably take about 5 to 8 minutes. After it gets to a rolling boil, what I do is I'll put a lid on.
Greg's focus is on getting the balance right. The soy sauce and vinegar simmer, bringing in those deep, tangy flavors that make adobo what it is.
There's not a lot of things out there that are like vinegar-based dishes. And I think adobo, I feel like it's like 50% vinegars. But with all the different ingredients, it doesn't taste like a vinegar soup unless you make it that way. You know what I mean? I think they're pleasantly surprised when I say there's vinegar in it and it's braised, and then they taste it and it's not what they're expecting. Like, it's not super shocking to them. So it's like a savory dish to them. So when they taste it, I mean, I'd like to think it's a good introduction to Filipino food. I haven't had anyone not like it.
So this has been reducing for about 10 minutes now. You see the sauce is thickening up a little bit. It's not as loose and runny as when we first put it together. But what I like to do is just add a little, help it out just a little bit more by putting a little bit of a slurry. This is cornstarch and water. And it's a binder, and it really brings in the flavors together. So the sauce should thicken up a little more, creates more of like a really, it's like a loose gravy for your rice.
Just like my grandfather, Luna's Pasta was part of something bigger. A legacy of Filipino Navy chefs who cooked it all. Filipino food, American food, whatever the crew needed, they delivered. And if you ask me, they didn't always get the respect they deserved. These weren't just cooks, they were real chefs, and what they passed down was more than recipes. It was the skill to adapt and thrive in any kitchen, the same skill Luna carries on today.
What's your dad's name?
His name is Luciano, but he went by Banji, or Van, or Shiano, depending who was talking to him. He was a cook, like a mess hall cook, I guess, is what he was. So he'd cook anything from like London broil to like twice baked mashed potatoes, deviled eggs. So I always got to be the one that was like adding the eggs, stirring the seasonings in, got to plate it with him. So just little things. He just said, hey, do this. So I did everything that he did after he showed me how to do it. So anyone that knows my dad and knew me growing up was like, oh, I love your dad's roast beef. But I mean, he still could cook Filipino food. That wasn't his choice to cook that type of food, but he cooked anything from Italian to Mexican, American, Filipino. So it was everything under the sun.
As Rex plates the adobo, you can feel the weight of tradition. Filipino Navy chefs like Luna's dad didn't just cook for the crew. They made everyone feel like they had a piece of home, no matter how far away they were. That tradition lives on, especially for us Filipinos here in the States. Adobo isn't just about cooking. It's about giving people that sense of comfort, the feeling of belonging. It's home, served on a plate.
Time for plating. All right, first we're gonna grab this guy here. Some of that broth on there. This is a good part. Garnishing, just crunchy scallions. And then green onions.
Sorry, last question.
Okay, you said that 3 times. Sorry, last question.
Your parents on that photo, obviously they're not here right now, but what is something you'd want to tell them?
Oh, you're pulling on my heartstrings right here. Just thank you. I mean, I wouldn't be here without them. And again, it wasn't like they were forcing me, hey, you have to learn how to cook this. You have to learn how to bake this. Just thank you for showing me a love for cooking and baking. They loved it, so I loved it too. And I mean, who knows? I could have been a doctor or scientist right now, but I'm here, a restaurateur, because my love for cooking and baking, and it was because of them. So I would definitely say thank you.